Welcome to my kitchen. Today we are making some ultimate comfort food, chicken and dumplings. What was I saying? It doesn't have any chicken, what I really love about this recipe is that it doesn't have any broth or stock or anything like that. So we are going to get started. First thing I'm gonna do is chop this onion in half. And while I'm doing this, I do have a pot heating up on the stove. I made the mistake of using a whole onion once, and it was basically onion soup. So we're just gonna use a half. And this is my personal favorite way to chop an onion. I don't know why, but I just really like diagonals. So I will go diagonally like this, but not quite go all the way to the base of the onion. Like so. It's not going through, see? And then I will go diagonally the other direction, so I'm making like a bunch of X's, and this time I will go through all the way. And then sometimes there'll be some big pieces, so whoa, hello cutting board. I will just go back in like so. Make sure, oh, the eyes. Oh, it burns. Oh, good thing it's only half of an onion. And I kind of do the same thing with garlic. Well, I take off that little brown part most of the time. I'm not too lazy. And just kind of go through and then turn it. I find garlic extremely difficult to chop finely, so. Okay, so we've got our onions and our garlic. So let's head into the kitchen and see if our pot is warm. So anyway, I added just a little bit of olive oil into this pot, and then we are going to pour in the onions and garlic so that they can get all yummy. Give this a good stir, and let it kind of soften up for a minute while we go get the rest of the vegetables. So usually this recipe calls for 2 zucchinis and half of a butternut squash. Unfortunately, I just decided last minute to make this. I happen to have some frozen vegetables in my freezer, so we're gonna try those out and see how they work. We are adding, I just kind of eyeballed. That looks like about 2 zucchinis worth. I got some yellow squash in there, whatever. And then the butternut squash I also had in my freezer. Yeah, that looks like about half of a butternut squash, good enough. And then we're gonna add in 2 carrots, which I chopped up. And we're gonna add ½ teaspoon of salt, 2 tablespoons of dried parsley, and 1½ tablespoons of dried basil. Okay, and the sun came back out. We are just gonna scooch all these vegetables over to the side a little bit. 1, 2. And if they're huge, you can do 2. If they're smaller, you can do 3. Or if you just like chicken or don't like chicken. So there they are, they're in there. So I'm just gonna add a splash of water. It's like a tablespoon, and this is very important because if you add too much water, then it just boils and it will take forever. So, splash of water, move it on, and let that do its thing. Okay, so we had a little camera error, so I'm gonna explain what I already did. We had 3 cups of flour. Mine is home ground white wheat, but you could also just use store-bought regular flour and do half white flour and half just regular whole wheat. And so we had that in the bowl, then we added some salt and baking powder and stirred it in really, really well so it was all nice and mixed. Then we added 2 cups of coconut oil, that's what that's called, coconut oil, and just kind of mixed it in. Just crumble it with your fingers like this. Make sure it's nice and mixed. If you have any big chunks like this, make sure to do it with your fingertips, because if you try to crush it in your fist like that, they'll just become harder. Now we are going to add 1 cup of ice cold water. If you remember, then you can measure it out and stick it in the freezer while you're mixing the rest of it so it's nice and cold. So we'll add that in, not all at once. Just kind of do this. Hi, little guy. More. So it's almost all incorporated. Okay, so now we're going to take a chunk about this big and make it into a little ball. And then we'll just do that with the rest. And I think it makes about 13. It's a weird number. Baker's dozen, I guess. Okay, let's see how we're doing. Check that out. And so I only added that little drizzle of water, and as you can see, all the juices came out of the chicken. And look at that color. Look at that brown. Oh my Lanta. Check that out. There is so much flavor in this. And you don't even have to add stock. So we are gonna pull these bad boys out and chop them up, shred them, whatever you like to do. We just added our water. So we added some peas. Here's our chicken. As you can see, it's still a little bit pink, but I'm not too worried about it because we are gonna stick it back in and cook it for about another half hour with the dumplings. So it will definitely cook through. Okay, here we go. We are going to put the chicken back in, and then we are just gonna add dumplings one at a time. And it makes 13. It makes 13. I don't know how it always makes 13. I don't know how my recipes always make really weird numbers of things, but it just is. There you have it. And then we are going to stick it in the oven with the lid on for a while. Okay, let's see how it looks. It's very heavy, by the way. Okay, that is beautiful. We're just gonna kind of mix it in a little bit and dish it up. So we got 2 dumplings here. Look at that.
Dumpling.
I like dumplings. And then we've got a good, real life. We've got a good scoop of some chicken and some vegetables and broth. There you have it.